Yes, sir. Welcome back. So today I want to talk about the art industry. Things I've learned, things I've experienced. Now, today, it feels like anyone can become an artist, right? Or an artist. A big reason for this is how accessible tools have become in developed nations, like in the West or in general, right? You have phones, you have recording equipment, you have painting equipment. Anyone can get access to a camera. Anyone can get access to a studio. Anyone can get access to software. And so there's been a proliferation of the arts, a nouveau renaissance in this day and age. But there's a difference between the art industry, art, and commercial art. And I want to talk about this briefly because I've had this discussion before and I think it's worthy of having the discussion again. But real art, in my opinion, in my belief, good, real, true art only stems from a place of pain. When things are going well in your life, when things are going better and things are good, there isn't this deep needed sense to express that because you're too busy living in the goodness of that experience and the goodness of those moments. You might want to recapture it later, you might want to write about it after and talk about it or whatever. But when you think about the best art in the world, music, film, photography, whatever it is, any type of medium, it always stems from a place of pain. Either the artist made something when they were in pain that the audience can connect with that emotion, with that feeling. And so for this reason, if you want to be an artist, you tend to make things from a place of pain. Now the trap is this. Going into the industry of commercial artistry is very, very, very different than the practice of the craft of artistry. And there's a sort of illusion that takes place within the industry that subconsciously, I believe, keeps artists in a perpetual state of suffering in order to reinforce the pain that produces great art. When, just two examples, I think most people are probably familiar with Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper, I think, made one of the greatest mixtapes I've heard in a long time, a while ago, called Acid Rap. Now, the themes in acid rap have more to do with his suffering than his enjoyment, He talks about like his drug abuse, he talks about his family, he talks about other things that are going on that are making him feel a sense of suffering. But that produced acid rep. And then years later down the line, he comes out with this when he's in a better state, right? He's done all this work to heal himself and he's in a better position in life and he's not broke anymore and he has all this money and everything like that. And he puts out this album talking about how much he loves his wife, how much he's enjoying his company of his family and just enjoying himself. And it was ass. It was complete shit. It was complete shit. Everyone dogged on him for it. It was like, what the fuck is this? And so there's this cycle for Chance the Rapper. Does he keep himself in a perpetual state of suffering in order to protect and preserve his artistry? Or does he develop and grow and potentially lose that? And I asked this question one time on social media and it got really significant responses and there was a lot of debate going on and everything like this. Um, but this is a conclusion I came to because I realized that I was doing this myself as well. And the reason is this: creativity is separate from artistry. You have you have the core of creativity, and from that stems two branches. You have art, and then you have design. Art is a form of free-flowing emotional expression, state of being in flow, etc. Whereas design is used specifically to solve a problem. It's the same creative energy, just applied in two different forms. And when I was doing a lot of work, I mean, I'm still doing, but when I was doing a lot of work developing myself internally and what it means to be a man and all these things and trying to progress forward and learning and reading, there's a point to be made about masculinity and emotionality, where it's important, obviously, when we discuss emotions, to feel emotions and everything like that, but to not necessarily be too emotional, to be overly emotional. It doesn't, I find it doesn't really help anyone. But art is largely an emotional endeavor, right? To take what you're feeling and put it out on display, takes a sense of like vulnerability and all these things. So I came to a crossroads. I was like, okay, well, do you want to keep because the question is this: if you have a problem in life, you can either make emotional art about it, or you can buckle down and figure out how to solve the issue and then solve the issue. Whatever the issue is, it might be fucking, if it's a geopolitical thing, if it's a socioeconomic thing, if it's a relational thing, it's a this thing, it's that thing. There's really two, you can get down on yourself, make art, get the emotions out and do all these things. I do think that there's something to be said about having a healthy emotional outlet for men. I do think that's true because I think men need that. The problem that I'm speaking on is holding on to the identity of an artist for the sake of trying to attain something that is only obtainable with your self-destruction, with your continual and perpetual self-destruction, because that is what is required in the industry. Because the whole industry is about who can be the weirdest, who can be the quirkiest, who can stand out the most and do all these things and get the, attention and be weird and all this shit. But if the goal is for you to be stable and healthy as a person, as an individual, then that's not conducive to the goal. And I think art is a way of exploring more also philosophical, deeper layered things and the abstract. I'm not knocking art. I'm not knocking art at all. I'm just saying in terms of objectives of what you're trying to accomplish and things to be mindful of when pursuing this idea of artist or artistry within the art industry. Because another pitfall that I see a lot of people fall into is they think that talent beats money in getting to where they're trying to go. Now, talent is extremely important. Talent is extremely important. And developing and cultivating and working on your gifts is extremely important. But it's not enough. When you look at the guys who are able to get to that level, what it takes is investment, financial investment, whether it comes from the record label, whether it comes from a VC, whether it comes from a film studio, whether it comes from an investor who wants to back a collection. So you need the talent, but you also need to understand that there's another aspect of it that you also need and require. Especially I get frustrated when it comes to things like painting and photography and all of these things, because there's a whole backside element that people are completely unaware of. And that really the purpose of those things is financial investment at the highest echelon tier of what it becomes. When people get into like these big galleries and they get into these big auction houses and they get into these big venues and all of these things like that, it's not because the paintings are good, bro. Sure, they're nice, but I've seen a banana taped against the wall go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen fucking just black lines go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I see random shit go for the most absurd amounts of money possible. And then you have motherfuckers that are like drawing these super realistic, detailed, just so crazy good. And it's like they can't even get an eyeball on it, because it's not the purpose. It's not the purpose. The people who are buying these things are investors, alternative asset buyers, tax write-offs. It's all financial shit. It's all financial shit. So that's why when they say like, oh, it's never valuable until the artist dies. Well, no shit, because if you understand supply and demand, if an artist is alive, the supply continues to grow. If they're dead, the supply stops. There's no more supply of that artist coming out ever. So that increases the potential demand for each piece. And the valuation that each piece can get because there is no supply. So if you have a big artist who's still alive, they're still producing works, they're still producing pieces, they're not necessarily always gonna get the recognition. Because the value is in the supply. But I asked this question on social media the other day, or not the other day, a while ago, like I was saying. And I asked, you know, are you committed enough to your self-growth that you heal the pain that drives your art? Are you committed enough to your self-growth that you heal the pain that drives your art? It's a tough question. It's a tough one. And if I was being completely honest, which I am, I would tell you that I have kept myself back then in situations that I didn't need to be in for the sake of trying to manifest potentially a piece of art or a piece of work or something like that. But subconsciously, I didn't know that I was doing it. I was doing it. And then it wasn't until later when I started really doing work, I was like, damn, I'm subconsciously and unconsciously keeping myself in these situations selfishly. But if I was really committed to growing and evolving as a person, I wouldn't keep myself in difficult or toxic situations that would throw me off emotionally and internally and spiritually and all these things that would make me suffer. I would just remove myself from the situation, which is what I do now. If I feel like a situation is making me feel some type of way or whatever, I don't get mad, I don't argue, I don't fucking talk. I'm like, bro, you know what? Hey man, have a good day. Have a good day, you know what? Not even worth it. And a lot of people subconsciously or unconsciously choose to keep or put themselves in situations where they're suffering for various reasons that I'm not gonna get into in this video. But I don't know, there's a lot that I could go into, but I think I'm gonna stop it there for today. So just something to think about, something to think about.